I think that's the optimistic take. I do think that the political crisis that Theresa May is in at the moment does, in a way, kind of bolster her credibility with the EU27s. It shows that she's pushing really hard for for a more credible version of Brexit. And let's not forget, this is a million miles away from the kind of hard Brexit that was being sort of pushed for in her Mansion House speech and her Lancaster House speech. So we've come a very, very long way, and harmonisation on goods regulation is a real concession. But the fact is that we're still in sort of facilitated customs partnership territory. We're still talking about the opportunity to diverge. We're still talking about the possibility of maybe what the EU would see as regulatory dumping if we diverge on sort of employment or social or environmental rules in the future. The agreement that was agreed at Chequers was talking about not lowering standards below where they currently are. It said nothing about keeping them in line in the future, and the fact is that the EU27 is not going to be willing to just accept sort of accept UK assertions that we won't reduce standards. They want stuff which is legally watertight, and I think we are in an asymmetric negotiation, and I think as long as we're in that position, the EU27 is going to be very loath to make serious concessions. One thing I would say though is that if the UK is willing to agree the backstop, and if it's willing to maybe go from a facilitated customs partnership to a customs union and make a few more concessions besides, it's still got a long way to go, then I think perhaps the sympathy for Theresa May's position and the acknowledgement that she's in a very tough place politically, domestically, could see us getting closer towards a deal.
Richard, no one's mentioned Corbyn yet. And yesterday, one of the responses from the opposition leader was to say we need a government that is capable of governing. I'm not sure he was as strong or as on message as he could have been. And if we think about where some of the analysis has been, that if Theresa May does not survive a leadership contest were there to be one, we could very well find ourselves back at a general election, which then raises the real prospect of a Jeremy Corbyn-led government. What is that scenario for the market at this point, and what would that mean for Brexit negotiations?
Well, I think in terms of our markets would not react well to to the prospects of Jeremy Corbyn government. And I think Jeremy Corbyn is the glue potentially which is keeping the Conservative Party together. And I think we haven't even talked about the DUP and their position. The DUP look at Jeremy Corbyn as a sort of Sinn Féin sympathiser. So Jeremy Corbyn in a way is a very, very important figure sort of waiting in the wings, which potentially means that the Conservative Party could fall into line when in other situations it might not. But I think if it starts to look really, if the prospect of general elections starts to look much more realistic, and it's only 4 times in the last 200 years that a UK government has collapsed sort of mid-term and been forced to go to general elections. It's a very rare scenario, and in every single one of those scenarios, the sitting government has been kicked out of office by voters. So if that happens in this case, which is certainly not beyond the realms of possibility, then we could very easily be looking at a Jeremy Corbyn government, and I think markets would find that a very frightening prospect. And the reasons are fairly obvious. I can go into them now, but nationalisation programme, sort of increases in corporation tax. This phrase that a friend of mine uses: "Capital goes where it's treated best." And I think in a Corbyn-led Britain, capital would not be treated very well.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.